Om Jnanam Handasyam Shananjana Salakayam Shakshar Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Dinamini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharini Nirvisesini Vali Paskatai Nisatarani. Hare Krishna. So we are in chapter 16, the Payovrata process of worship. We heard about Kashyapa Muni, who came back from his samadhi, came out of samadhi and came home, and he found his wife Aditi in a state of moroseness. So while we go through this chapter, which is quite an extensive chapter, which we will try to finish today, and hopefully already the intro of chapter 17, that while we go through this chapter, please consider the following question, which is now on the screen. What did Aditi request from our powerful husband? And how did Kashyapa Muni initially respond? And what was his advice? You can say this answer of this question is a bit the essence of this chapter also. Oh, that's wrong. There it is again. I will put it in the chat so that everyone has this question. There it is. So now we will hear now the reply of Aditi, and she will clarify what's the cause of our moroseness. Text 11. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shri Aditi Uvacha Padam Tvicha Gavam Brahman Dharmasya Shanasya Cha Trivargasya Param Kshetram Hyamedim Kriha Ime. Aditi said, O my respected Brahman, O my respected Brahman husband, that all is well with the Brahmins, the cows, religion, and the welfare of other people. O master of the house, the three principles of Dharma, Artha, and Kam flourish in household life, which is consequently full of good fortune. Son. The short purport. In household life, one can develop the three principles of religion, economic development, and sense gratification according to the regulations given in the Shastras. But to attain liberation, one must give up household life and place himself in the transcendental renounced order. Kashyapa Muni was not in the renounced order of life. Therefore, he is addressed here once as Brahman and another time as Shreya Maiden. Aditi, his wife, assured him that as far as household life was concerned, everything was going nicely and the Brahmins and cows were being honored and protected. In other words, there were no disturbances. Household life was duly progressing. Text 12. O beloved husband, The friars, guests, servants, and beggars are all being properly cared for by me, because I always think of you. There is no possibility that any of the religious principles will be neglected. So Aditi, she was acting to please her husband. So that was always in the center of our consciousness, pleasing our husband. That we read text 13:14. O my Lord, since you are a Prajapati and are personally my instructor in the principles of religion, where is the possibility that all my desires will not be fulfilled? O son of Marichi, because you are a great personality, you are equal toward all the demons and demigods who are born either from your body or from your mind, and who possess one or another of the three qualities, sattva, rajaguna, or tamaguna. But although the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Controller, is equal to all living entities, is especially favorable to the devotees. And Srila Prabhupada quotes 929 in Bhagavad Gita 929 in the purport. So Kashyapa Muni, he was the father of both the demigods and the demons. That Aditi was the mother of the Daityas, and Aditi, she was the mother of the Suras, the demigods. She says to her husband that he's equal to everyone. This is brought up many times in Shastra, as this is the mark of a great person. He's equal to everyone. To show favoritism, I like this and I don't like this one, this is considered very low class. Prahlad Maharaj criticized his teachers, Sanda and Amarka, for thinking in terms of friends and enemies. In the beginning of the 7th canto, that question has been asked. How is it possible that the Lord shows favoritism? Favoritism over one against another is considered childish, we heard. Not the mark of a great person. What to speak of the Lord? So there is a saying that regardless of the modes of material nature that someone is in, one should be equal to everyone. Because you are so great, she says. You are pure and self-realized. Therefore, you can't show favoritism to anyone. As the Lord is equal, samam sarvabhutanam, samam sarvabhuteshu, you are equal. So this is her point, be equal to everyone. Because Krishna also is equal to everyone, but he says, ye bhajanta tamam bhaktya. That, so the Lord is equal to everyone. Samoham sarvabhuteshu. But still in the midst of that, he shows favoritism to his devotees. Srila Prabhupada says in the purport of this verse, that is natural. Although a wealthy man who is favorable to all the people working in his factory is still more inclined to his son. And that is natural. So Aditi expresses her desire. So Kashyapa Muni, who is the father of the demons, also shows some favoritism, especially inclined to the devotees, meaning the demigods were her sons. So all these verses are making the same point. So, I mean, the verses from the purport. We will read the purport. that so equals 929, and then Yeo Tama Papachite Tamsate the Teba Jamyam, Mamavart Manavartnate, Manusha Parta Service of 4-1. And then Shilpa Prabhupada writes in the book, actually, everyone is trying to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead in various ways. But according to their methods of approach, the Supreme Lord endows them with different benedictions. Thus, Aditi appealed to her husband by saying that since even the Supreme Controller favors his devotees, and since Indra Kashyapa and since Indra is Kashyapa's devoted son, was in difficulty, Kashyapa should bestow his favor upon Indra. So that's the point made here by Aditi. All these verses we heard in the purport, they are making the same point. Krishna is especially inclined to his devotees. So how is Kashyapa Muni going to deal with this situation here? He's equal to everyone, and he had already some experience being tricked by his wives in the past. So how is he going to deal with it? We will hear text 15, 16 and 17. Therefore, most gentle Lord, kindly favor your maidservant. We have now been deprived of our opulence and residence by our competitors, the demons. Kindly give us protection. The demons, our formidable, powerful enemies, have taken away our opulence, our beauty, our fame, and even our residence. Indeed, we have now been exiled, and we are drowning in an ocean of trouble. O best of the sages, best of all those who grant benedictions, please consider our situation and bestow upon my sons the benedictions by which they can regain what they have lost. So by the potency of Sukracharya's benediction, Bali Maharaj gained power, the power to attain heaven. And Aditi thou taught that now by the potency of your benedictions of Kashyapa Muni, my sons will get it back. 18. Sukadev Goswami continued, when Kashyapa Muni was thus requested by Aditi, he slightly smiled. Alas, he said, how powerful is the illusory energy of Lord Vishnu, by which the entire world is bound by affection for children. Kashyapa Muni was surely sympathetic to his wife's affliction, yet he was surprised at how the whole world is influenced by affection. So, Kashyapa Muni has just come back from being situated in a yogic trance. Basically, yes, that he was in deep trance, and he came out of this trance. And now he's confronted with the mentality of his sons and the sons of others. So it's going from the oneness to everything to these different mentalities. So this is the potency of Maya, he says. And it's an interesting question. How powerful is the illusory energy of Lord Vishnu? Maya rules this world and is bewildering everyone continuously through affection, through enemies, desire, through hatred. Bhagavad Gita we hear Ichadvesha samutena dantvanda moena bharata sarvbhutesha samam sarheyanti parantapa. O sign of Bharat, conqueror of the foe, all living entities are born into delusion, bewildered by the dualities arisen from desiring and hate. So born into illusion. This is good and this is bad. That's illusion. I want this. I hate that. We stay in the material world more or less forever. As beings, we are absorbed in attraction and aversion, and we stay on the material level. 334 Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says there are two obstacles in spiritual life, raga and dvesha, attachment and aversion. And at some point, if the soul wants to get out, we need to say at a certain point, I have enough. I'm not going to fall in it anymore. I don't want Ichcha and Dvesha anymore. And what does he do next when it comes to that very deep realization? Then we need to cry out very loudly to Krishna, help me. Mami vaye papachanti mayam evam taranti te. Krishna says this Deva, Deva yesa kunamaya mama maya durachaya. It's this divine energy of mind consisting of the three modes of material nature, difficult to overcome, durachaya. But those who have surrendered, they can easily cross beyond it, Lord Krishna says. Maya is just too powerful for us to overcome. The only way is if Krishna unlocks the door. These are the shackles that keep us here. Maya is too powerful. We have such a bad habit of interacting with Maya. And this for countless years. We have so much karma. It is impossible for us to escape. So only if we are tired of it, says, oh, I had enough, Krishna. Please help me, I'm weak. We have to pray continuously to Krishna. That is the cost. It is a full and continuous dependence on Krishna. One continually only depends on another when one really needs it. And what is the difference between the mood of a devotee and the mood of someone desiring liberation? It is a matter of desire, of what one actually wants. If one desires predominantly to get out of material nature, even if we are devotees, then we are not devotees. We are salvationists. If we want predominantly to get rid of suffering, then that is not actually bhakti. A devotee may want to get out of this material world by his driving force to serve. And why is his driving force to serve? What impels Aditi to serve her husband? So Aditi says that she is thinking of his pleasure. Bhakti means one who loves Krishna. Of course, that is advanced, but that is what it means. So Aditi, she seems to be unhappy because her sons are being thrown out of the heavenly planets. Diti pleased Kashyapa Muni to find a way to kill Indra. Kashyapa Muni gave her a way to purify her from this kind of passion, ignorant desires. But this all fits into Krishna's lila. Maya is compared to andhakar, or darkness, and Krishna is compared to light. Krishna Suryasa Maya Haya Andhakar. That whenever there is sunshine, there cannot be darkness. As soon as one takes the Krishna consciousness, the darkness immediately vanishes. So keep always in the light of Krishna rather than trying to remove the darkness directly. So we have a different method, and that is to always keep in Krishna's sun. How by being Krishna conscious? By serving, and it's by serving and by remembering, trying to please him. So Srila Prabhupada in New Vrindavan said, Krishna consciousness is not difficult. The only thing we have to do is arrange our life in such a way that we cannot forget Krishna. That's all. So you can have material affection too if you have sons. That is how Kunti prays. Let the affection for my kinsman be removed. But that does not mean the spiritual part of our affection, because that she's a mother and also they are devotees. She does not want the motherly part. Her consciousness was not only appreciating that they are souls and they are devoted souls. And therefore my affection for them is not on the spiritual platform. That's were thoughts. Aditi thought, my sons have been thrown out improperly. And Aditi said, I don't like it. Text 19. Kashyapa Muni continued. What is this material body made of 5 elements? It is different from the spirit soul. Indeed, the spirit soul is completely different from the material elements from which the body is made. But because of bodily attachment, one is regarded as a husband or son. These illusory relationships are caused by misunderstanding. So what is the misunderstanding? In the misunderstanding is, my son is produced for my body, and therefore is my son. Actually, I'm a soul, and he is a soul. That's the purport. So the spirit soul, Atma or Jiva, is certainly different from the body, which is a combination of the 5 material elements. This is a simple fact, but it is not understood unless one is spiritually educated. Yes. So, Kashyapa Muni met his wife Aditi in the heavenly planets, but the same misconception extends throughout the entire universe and is also here on Earth. There are different grades of living entities, but all of them are more or less under the impression of the bodily conception of life. In other words, all living entities in this material world are more or less devoid of spiritual education. The Vedic civilization, however, is based on spiritual education, and spiritual education is the special basis on which Bhagavad Gita was spoken. In the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna instructs Arjuna to understand that the spirit soul is different from the body. Denosmin chatadehi kamram javnam chara tatade antara praktis diras tatra namuyati. That as embodied soul continually passing this body from boyhood to youth to old age, that the the soul simply passes into another body at death. The self-realized soul is not bewildered by such a change. Just think about it. That it's just an amazing, revolutionary concept of the materially absorbed consciousness. That Srila Prabhupada writes, yes. Unfortunately, this spiritual education is completely absent from modern human life. No one understands this real self-interest which lies with the spirit soul, not with the material body. Education means spiritual education, to work hard in the body concept of life without spiritual education is to live like an animal. People are working so hard for bodily comforts without education regarding the spirit soul. Thus, they are living in a very risky civilization. Srila Prabhupada said, risky civilization. What is the risk? The risk is again becoming a mouse, a monkey. That the monkey, the mice, the bird, they are all suffering. Just imagine to have fleas and no hands to scratch. The dogs, they are so much suffering. So much flies always bothering you. And you have no hands to push them away with the tail, but the flies are smart enough to go around the tail. Well, that Srila Prabhupada, right? Yes. Without spiritual education, people are kept in dark ignorance that and do not know what will happen to them after annihilation of the present body. They are working blindly and leaders are directed them. A foolish person does not know that he is completely under the bondage of material nature and that after death material nature will impose upon him a certain type of body which we will have to accept. He does not know that although in this present body he may be a very important man, in the next body he may have the body of an animal, a tree, because of his ignorant activities in the modes of material nature. Therefore, the Krishna conscious movement is trying to give the true light of spiritual existence to all living entities. This movement is not very difficult to understand, and people must take advantage of it, for it will save them from the risky life of irresponsibility. So, text 20. My dear Deity, engage in devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the master of everything, who can subdue everyone's enemies, and who sits within everyone's heart. Only that Supreme Person, Krishna Vasudeva, can bestow all auspicious benedictions upon everyone, for he is the spiritual master of the universe. So Aditi, she had a materialistic problem, and here is the answer to her problem. It is an answer to the ultimate problem. Thus, of course, we have heard in the beginning of the second canto, Akama Sarvakama Moksha Kama Udarati, Tivrena Bhakti-yogana Yacheta Purushamparam. A person who has broader intelligence, whether he is full of material desires, or have no material desires, or he desires liberation, he must, with great force, Tivrena, perform Bhakti Yoga, worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That So in the purport 20, with the words, Kashyapa Muni tried to pacify his wife, that Aditi made her appeal to her material husband. Of course, that's nice, but actually, a material relative cannot do anything good for anyone. Guru Nasasya, Jnani Nasasya, you remember that unless one can deliver one's dependence, one cannot be a guru, one cannot be a relative. So they cannot do anything good for anyone. If anything good can be done, it is done by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, therefore, yes, it is. Therefore, one must train his subordinates or disciple to worship Vasudeva, and he is a truly bona fide spiritual master. Text 21. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is very merciful to the poor, that will fulfill all your desires, for devotional service unto him is infallible. Any method other than devotional service is useless. That is my opinion. That you have the Sanskrit word there, Dina Nukampana. Dina Anukampana. He's merciful to those who are poor and fallen. And feel fallen means those who are humble. That yes, Amoha means sinless also. So to both his wives, Kashyapa Muni gave different processes, but it's the same process of Bhakti Yoga, or worship to the Supreme Lord. So this we heard at the end of Canto 6, and here in Canto 9 again. We will read the second half of the purport, that of text 21. So, long purpose. That, Anyway, just I'm trying to locate. If the devotee maintains a material desire and at the same time is very sincerely desires to engage at the lotus feet of Krishna, Krishna may directly give him unalloyed devotional service and take away all his material possessions. This is the Lord's special favor to devotees. Otherwise, if one takes to Krishna's devotional service but still has material desires to fulfill, that he may become free from all material desires, as Dhruva Maharaj did. But this may take some time. However, if a very sincere devotee wants only Krishna's lotus feet, Krishna directly gives him the position of Suddha Bhakti, an unalloyed, the unalloyed devotional service. And that's interesting. Dhruva wanted a kingdom greater than his great-grandfather, Brahma, but he did not want it anymore after being purified. But Dhruva had to be king for 32,000 years. But at the other side, we will hear in the 11th canto, the Avanti Brahman was taking everything away, and he became purified. So the question is, do we want Krishna to fulfill our material desires and then go back to Godhead? Is that how we want Krishna to treat us? Or do we want to take the shortcut? That is the point Srila Prabhupada is making. We can go back in the first way, but it takes longer. We may have still so many desires, cultivate them, and I want this and that. Otherwise, Krishna, if we have this desire, Krishna will fulfill them. So think about that. Even if the desires are there, one can be detached from them in a subtle sense. So it is not easy when one has desires to just cut them off by our intelligence and do as they are not there anymore. Srila Prabhupada explains in the 4th canto, in one of his purports, the best treatment for the mad mind, which is the sitting place of all desires, is neglect. That's an interesting statement. That the desires are there, but I'm not going to cultivate them. Not encouraging to grow or give them attention. What is the opposite of being poor? Dina anukampanam. It's thinking of oneself, of possessing so much. And that is basically the definition of pride. So being poor, dina hita tatachilo harinam. Thinking of household life is basically meditating on the enjoyment available in household life. Thinking it to be the purpose of our existence. This means that one's consciousness is not exalted. Kapila Muni in the 3rd canto explains that to worship the deity without respecting all living entities is a materialistic devotee or almost a devotee. It's a prakriti bhakta, not at all recommended. In Shastra, there is so much emphasis on this point to respect all living entities. All living entities, not only the members of my tribe, not only humans, but all living entities are worthy of giving respect. So Krishna is in everyone's heart. Now, after Kashyapa Muni has given a simple description, then that just pleasing Lord Vasudeva in everyone's heart. Now, what is he going to say? Text 22. Well, no, Deity will reply. Yeah. Srimati Aditi said, O Brahman, tell me the regulative principles by which I may worship the Supreme Master of the world, so that the Lord will be pleased with me and fulfill all my desires. So one thing we notice here, who is the center? Who is the center? What is the purpose of worship? Is it simply to please the Lord? When we speak about just pleasing Krishna, what do we mean? Anyabilasta sunyam jnanakamada navatam anukulena krishnanu shilam bhakti uttama. First class devotional service develops when it's devoid of all material desires, knowledge obtained by monistic philosophy and fruitive action. The devotee must constantly serve Krishna favorably. So when we do not desire anything in return, for this pleasing of Krishna, then we are in the realm of bhakti, or pure devotional service. But here she's asking for the methodology of pleasing the Lord. What are the regulative principles? So that I can worship the Supreme Master, so that he's pleased with me. And the purpose is, Deity says, that he will, Deity says that he will fulfill all my desires. So this is clearly sakam. Sakam. Aditi says that yes, he will fulfill all my desires. There's a motive in that. But as we learn from, yes, that sarva kailana akamava, it all turns out for the best. So important is that if one is actually worshipping the Lord, whether one has motives of not or not, that's most important. We will read Srila Prabhupada purport to text 22. That it is said that man proposes, God disposes. Thus a person may desire many things, but unless these desires are fulfilled by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they cannot be fulfilled. Fulfillment of desires is Satya Sankalpa. Here the word Satya Sankalpa is very important. Aditi placed herself at the mercy of her husband so that he would give her directions by which the worship of the Supreme Personality, by which to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, so that all her desires would be fulfilled. A disciple must first decide that he should worship the Supreme Lord, and then the spiritual master will give the disciple correct directions. One cannot dictate to the spiritual master, just as a patient cannot demand that his physicians prescribe a certain type of medicine. Here is the beginning of worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Best among the Bhartas, 4 kinds of pious men render devotional service unto me: the distressed, the desire of wealth, the inquisitive, and wish searching for knowledge of the Absolute. Adita was Artha, a person in distress. She was very much aggrieved because of her sons, the demigods, were bereft of everything. Thus she wanted to take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead under the direction of her husband. So Srila Prabhupada says here is the beginning of worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So before being able to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead in an unmotivated way, one has first to pass to the gate of worshipping him in a motivated way. We have all come to Krishna consciousness, to one of these four kinds: Artha Jijnasa, Artha Dhyanasa, Bharatarshava. We were not, our motives were not pure. We didn't know what's pure devotional service. And that's the reality. So trying to get something in return. And then by the process of devotional service, by the practices, by following the methodology, one becomes purified. Text 23. O best of the Brahmins, kindly instruct me in the perfect method of worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead in devotional service, by which the Lord may very soon be pleased with me and save me along with my sons from this most dangerous condition. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes, yes, that sometimes less intelligent men ask whether one has to approach a guru to be instructed in devotional service for spiritual advancement. The answer is given here, indeed, not only here, but also in Bhagavad Gita, where Arjuna accepted Krishna as his guru. Sisyas teham sadimam tvam papanam. The Vedas also instruct that Vicharnachtam Sagrum Eva Bigatchet, that one must accept the Guru for proper direction if one is seriously inclined toward advancement in spiritual life. The Lord says, one must worship the Acharya, who is a representative of the personality of Godhead. Acharya Mam Vichaniyat. That the spiritual master must be worshipped because it is Krishna's mercy coming to him. It is a method that Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur mentioned in a commentary. It is the method of worshipping the Supreme Lord. He is it who is actually being worshipped. This is another way of looking at the worship of the Guru. So then, the purport, one should definitely understand this. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said that the Guru is the manifestation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, according to all evidence given by Shastra and by the practical behavior of devotees, one must accept the Guru. Aditi accepted her husband as her Guru, so that he would direct her how to advance in spiritual consciousness, devotional service, by worshipping the Supreme Lord. So now Kashyapa Muni will begin his reply. She asked about the methodology. And why is she asking that question? Because he had already instructed her. You should take shelter of the Lord and try to please him. So the question is natural. How should I do that? Text 24. Shri Kashyapa Muni said, when I desired offspring, I placed inquiries before Lord Brahma, who is born from a lotus flower. Now I shall explain to you the same process Lord Brahma instructed me, by which Kesha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is satisfied. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes that the next step is given. He says, yes, here the process of devotion service is further explained. Kashyapa Muni wanted to instruct Aditi in the same process recommended by Brahma for satisfying the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is valuable. The methodology of instruction by the Guru is given, but that he has not manufactured that process. He's not presenting a new process to instruct his disciple. So this is called disciplic succession. He gives the same message as Krishna gave. So the Guru does not manufacture a new process. The disciple receives from the Guru an authorized process received by the Guru from his Guru. This is called the system of disciplic succession. This is the bona fide Vedic way system of receiving the process of devotional service by which the Supreme Personality of Godhead is pleased. So the prayojan of the goal is set here. That even though it is in a simple and basic way, the first question is that it is necessary to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The second question is how to please him. So the Guru Kashyapa Muni is explaining the process. It's not manufacturing something. He's instructing as he himself has been instructed. So this is the bona fide Vedic system of receiving the process of devotional service by which the Supreme Personality of Godhead is pleased. These are essential purports. Therefore, to approach a bona fide Guru, the spiritual master, is essential. The bona fide spiritual master is he who has received the mercy of his Guru, who in turn is bona fide because he has received the mercy of his Guru. This is called Parampara system. Unless one follows this Parampara system, the mantra one receives will be chanted for no purpose. Nowadays, there are so many rascal gurus who manufacture their mantras as a process for material advancement, not spiritual advancement. Still, the mantra cannot be successful if it is manufactured. Mantras and the process of devotion service have special power, provided they are received from the authorized person. So it is, if it is coming from one's own brain or one's consciousness, then it's limited. The capacity of one's own consciousness is limited. But if the process is coming to the disciplic succession, then the results will be unlimited. What is the duplicity of a rascal guru? The purpose of finding a guru is to find the absolute truth. And one cannot do this if the process is coming to one's own fertile brain, it's limited. If I'm limited, then the result of my limited thinking must be in the realm of the material world. That I cannot go beyond the material world with something of the material world. So there has to be a descent from the spiritual world to the material world. And then, if material things are used spiritually in a bona fide way, then when used in a proper way, then these material things will be spiritualized. But when they are not connected with anything spiritual, then the result will be again in the material world. So therefore, Golokera Prema Dhamma Arinam Sankirtan. The sound vibration comes from the spiritual realm. It comes from the spiritual realm, and the process is coming from the spiritual realm. The methodology comes from the spiritual realm. And therefore, it can bring out, it can bring us out of the material sphere and take it beyond it. Taking that, that is a basic philosophical fundamental point. Why does Srila Prabhupada use the word rascal? What is rascalness in the concocting? What is the rascalness in the concocting? What is the cheating in it? The purpose of the system is to give something not of the material world. It is to bring something out of the material world, and that's a problem. That is the natural inheritance. The purpose of Shastra is to give us something not from this material world. Vedasa sarvayami vavedya. Either the quote of rascal guru, who are manufacturing mantras, are trying to deliver material goods using a spiritual process. And by doing that, they are rascals, Srila Prabhupada said. They are trying to gain something for themselves and deliver something material, or they are promising something spiritual, but they don't have the capacity to deliver something spiritual. So in either case, they are rascals. And within the concept of rascal is that we should know better of this, better than this. There is an element of duplicity here, conscious duplicity. It is not innocent. It is not ignorance. Otherwise, the word rascal would be inappropriate. And it is what Srila Prabhupada means. That there is a cheating in there. So we have 23, the last part of the purport. So the Prabhupada said, the Lord says that one should definitely understand this. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said that the Guru is a manifestation of the personality of Godhead. Therefore, according to all evidence given by Shastra and by practical behavior of devotees, one must accept the Guru. Aditi accepted her husband as her Guru, so that he would direct her to advance in spiritual consciousness. Oh yeah, I was reading from the wrong purport. It's the end of the purport of 24. Yeah. Nowadays, there are so many rascal gurus who manufacture their mantras as a process of material advancement, not spiritual advancement. Still, the mantra cannot be successful if it is manufactured. Mantras and the process of devotional service has to be received from authorized person. So Srila Prabhupada is referring in this purport practically to a specific guru that who was selling mantras for a long time to get something material and promising something material. And Srila Prabhupada did not appreciate that because it was hypocrisy. And he was taking advancement of the spiritual ignorance of the people that his guru was marketing to. So mantras and the process of devotional service have special power, provided they are received from authorized persons. Now Kashyapa Muni is going to explain the process that the Lord, that he had heard to the disciplic succession from Lord Brahma, and by this process, not by a material process, but coming from the spiritual world endowed with spiritual energy. And that is what Bhakti is, pleasing the Supreme Lord. So we'll stop here for a moment. I will look at 2 questions we are in the chat, and then we will have a pause of 10 minutes. Mother Anangamoini, she writes, Aditi requested that the demigods, including her sons, should rule the heavenly planets again. Kashyapa initially responds by giving self-realized philosophy and advises her to engage in devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yes, I understand that's the answer on the question we have posed, and that's certainly the essence. So there's a question from Mayapur Institute. I don't know your name, Prabhu, but you are writing, Kashyapa Muni is a Brahmin and a devotee of Lord Krishna. And the devotee of Lord Krishna, he claims in the 10th canto that he has also born to Kashyapa and Aditi in his previous incarnation. But this stands when the demon soul sons default. What did he do when Hiranyakashipu was acting atrociously against sages and Brahminical culture? That I must say I don't understand the question. Can you speak, Prabhu, and explain what you mean here?
Hare Krishna, audible?
Yes, the connection is not so good.
Am I audible, Maharaj?
Yes, it was a little broken, but now it's okay.
Maharaj, basically the question is that Maharaj and Maharashtra's and
I cannot hear you. You are not audible. Can you speak louder or closer to the mic, maybe?
Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Yeah, that's better. That's better.
Maharaj, the question is, Lord Krishna tells Devaki Vasudev that he was born to them when they were Aditi and Kashyapa. So in that sense, Kashyapa is a devotee of Lord. I was interested to know what was his stand when his sons Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha were bent upon destroying Brahminical culture, killing cows, what action did he take? Did he reprimand them, or he was aloof?
It seems to me that, like, he's glorified to be equal to everyone, and he understood that this was the plan of the Lord, that Kashyapa Muni, when he was tricked by Deity, and yes, that he predicted, he said, these, you will give birth to great demons. And then Deity pleaded that I do not want this, but she said, but I said, Kashyapa said, okay, your grandson will be a great devotee of the Supreme Lord. Kashyapa Muni, he could see the future. He could see the plan of the Lord. That he was very powerful as appeared here. He's not an ordinary person. That, yes, he did not want to go in the duality of the world. That, so he stayed aloof. He was on a high spiritual platform. He could see it's all the will of the Lord. That's something we can learn here from these verses, from his position. Does that help to understand this?
Yes. Thank you, Maharaj.
Yeah, okay. We will now have a pause of 10 minutes. So it's now 5 o'clock. We will resume at 5:10. Thank you. So, Bhakti means pleasing the Lord with his own internal energy. That means one must come in contact with this internal energy to please the Lord. And therefore, in Bhagavad Gita says, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam Yome Bhaktya Panashati. So the Bhakti path, the Bhakti is the path that is pleasing. The devotion, which is Krishna's eternal energy. And that is what a guru is carrying with him. So there is Krishna's internal energy. And when one has that, then any offering is pleasing to Krishna. Even if it is Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam, just a leaf, flower, or water, and it doesn't, and if, that's, and as Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport, when there is no devotion, no purity, no sincerity in the offering, then no matter what one is offering, it's not going to please the Supreme Lord. Duryodhana, who brought Krishna to his capital, that he brought Krishna to his capital to try to bring Krishna at his side, that against the Pandavas. And so, to please Krishna, he cooked hundreds of preparations to present to Krishna to please him. But if one feeds you well, you not really feel pleased for the affection from that person. You not really feel obliged to that person, but he wanted something. It wasn't to please Krishna, but to get Krishna obliged to him, so that Krishna would take his side during the battle of Kurukshetra. Krishna would not touch the food, even it was the king's food, very opulent, and instead he went to the house of Vidura. Vidura wasn't there, but his wife was there, and she was a great devotee. She was so thrilled that Krishna was there, and Krishna said, I haven't eaten, please give me something to eat immediately. It is a pastime, of course. She said, oh my Lord, we didn't cook anything, but Krishna said, whatever you have, I'll take. She said, we have some bananas. Okay, gave me those bananas. In her excitement, what did she do? She threw away the bananas and handed Krishna the peels. What did Krishna do? He ate the peels. There's a similar story in the Ramayana where a lady took the bale fruits, sabari. She wanted to make sure that the bale fruits were sweet enough. She would bite them first and then hand it over to Krishna. One is not supposed to do that. But there was simple devotion into that, and Lord Ram was accepting it. It is the devotion that is the essence. We are following the rules and regulations because it's pleasing to Krishna. That is an element of devotion, even if it is not yet spontaneous. We do it the way taught us, and this is the way Krishna wanted. Let me do it in that way. It may not be what I like, and maybe this, maybe that, but that attempt to please the Lord and get ourselves out of the center and to please Krishna, that's the essence of what bhakti means. Put Krishna in the center. And the opposite is what this material world is made for, and that is selfishness. That is displeasing to us. But to speak of others, it is just simply business. When you go to a shop and you want something, then they give you what you want. But you always know that they are more getting than what they are giving. So that is not pleasing to the heart. This is the exchange in a shop, because there is no devotion, there is no love. So this is the essence of spiritual life. There is a specific order that the purpose are going in here. First, you accept the guru, and then what is his qualification? It is just that he will give you the methodology that he has gotten, and that comes from the spiritual source. And it is something that he himself is, it is not something that he is going to manufacture, because the result of something manufactured in the material world is going to be limited to the realm of the material world. But it has to be entering from the spiritual world. The process must be received from the proper source, meaning someone who is in the disciplic succession. So there is the beginning of the process that is described. The fundamental principles have been described already. So this is what Brahma himself had learned. Text 25. In the bright fortnight of the month Falguna, February and March, for 12 days ending with Dvadasi, one should observe the vow of subsisting only in milk and should worship the lotus-eyed Supreme Personality of Godhead with all devotion. That there is that wonderful pastimes in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, where this brahmachari tried to get into the kirtan, and Mahaprabhu chastised him so heavenly, saying, do you think that just by only drinking milk, you are going to please the Lord and advance? Is that going to please him? He was so upset with that. Essence here is the attempt to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose eyes are like lotus, with all devotion. The purport. Worshipping the Supreme Lord with devotion means following Archana Marg. So Archana Marg is one of the 8 processes of devotional service. Archana means deity worship, and deity worship is recommended for everyone. In the purport, Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Padasevanam Archanam Vanam Dasyam Sakyam Atmani Devanam. One should install the deity of Lord Vishnu or Krishna and worship him nicely by dressing him, decorating him with flower garlands, and offering him all kinds of fruits, flowers, and cooked food nicely prepared with ghee, sugar, and grains. So Jiva Goswami in his Bhakti Sandharma explains that there are no foundational qualifications required, such as being born in a particular family or having a particular gender, that there is no disqualification. Everyone should be doing some form of deity worship and participating in deity worship, because deity means God. This is such a wonderful training for developing devotion and devotion. So we read further the purport. So it is recommended that one observe the vow of subsisting only by drinking milk. That is called payovrata. As we generally perform devotional service on Ekadashi by not eating grains, it is generally recommended that on Dvadashi one not consume anything but milk. Payovrata and Archana devotional service to the Supreme Lord should be performed with a pure devotional intention, attitude, bhaktya. Without bhakti, one cannot worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bhaktya mama vichanti yasasmi tattva. If one wants to know the Supreme Personality of Godhead and be directly connected with him, knowing what he wants to eat and how he is satisfied, one must take to the process of bhakti. As recommended here, bhaktya paramayan vita, one should be surcharged by unalloyed devotional service. Should be surcharged. What imaginary does that bring up? What does that mean to you, being surcharged? Yeah. Electrified is a good metaphor. Filled with bhakti, one's existence, one's consciousness becomes filled with bhakti. Then the activity is not mechanical. It is devotional. What does devotional mean? His pleasure is giving pleasure to the object of the worship. So that is the essence of it. That he's to be pleased, and one's consciousness is actually filled with that. How to do it in such a way that the Lord is pleased. So therefore cleanliness, punctuality, all this is coming into play because he's going to please him. And then when there is love and when there is devotion, then the worship is pleasing. Does anyone has experienced that if someone is angry and cooks for you, or the other experience that you are angry to someone and then you cook for them? It's like airplane food. They put it before you and you just cannot eat it. How different it is if you come to someone's house and they are really happy to see you. Please sit down, please eat this, it's made for you. Then naturally one wants to eat it, right? It is affection from one of the side, for one side who is offering, that makes the appetite grow, that makes one happy. That's what's pleasing, the affection on the part of a gift. The gift itself is an external manifestation of the affection. The eternal mood is what is bhakti means. We do our deity worship. We take the bell and ring the bell. We have a lamp or some incense. We wave some incense. Now, if someone is waving a lamp in front of you, just that in itself is not going to give you pleasure or fan or something like that. But when it's done purposely with devotion, that is what is pleasing Krishna. Therefore, the bhakti process means not only the externals or the ritual part, but one should worship the lotus-eyed Supreme Personality of Godhead with all devotion. That surcharged, filled one's consciousness with devotion. Then whatever one is offering, even a banana peel, will become tasty to the Lord. It is not the recommended item of offering banana peels, feels, it is the devotion that increases Krishna's anger. A devotee wrote Srila Prabhupada a letter about the different mantras used in deity worship, and Srila Prabhupada answered the letter in a very simple way. He asked about the mantras when you call the deity to take rest, and what mantras you use when you call the deity to wake up. What you do is, Srila Prabhupada wrote, is saying, "Mighty Lord, please come and take rest now." I have an interesting comment here of Bhurijan Prabhu. He said, "I remember reading that I was so appointed because at that point of life, I wanted some technical things that I could show off with, or getting to know something very esoteric. I thought, why Srila Prabhupada giving something so simple? My dear Lord, please come and take rest now." He may be thinking that these Westerners do not know Sanskrit. But years later, I looked at Srila Prabhupada, and rather than withholding us something esoteric, he was giving the most esoteric thing. He was giving the heart and essence of it. "Krishna, please, you must be tired standing all day long. Please come and take rest now." If we will read through his instruction, please remember that Bhakti is the essence. Yeah. So the ritual and mantras appear to be esoteric, but they are exoteric. They are external. Now that we can neglect the external, not that we can neglect the external. If you perform a process in a specific way, you don't make up things, because it is coming down from the Lord. It is a spiritual process. Its origin is the spiritual realm. You can't shift anything because you like this and you don't like that. But yet, we should always remember what the essence is. Note text 26 and 27. 26. If dirt dug up by a boar is available on the day of the dark moon, one should smear this dirt on his body and then bathe in a flowing river. While bathing, one should chant the following mantra: "O Mother Earth, you were raised by the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the form of a boar because of your desire to have a place to stay. I pray that you kindly vanquish all the reactions of my sinful life. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you." So it are the reactions of our previous life that gives us trouble and stop us from moving forward. Because we are filled with so many things, it's like trying to listen to a radio. When you have so many channels coming in, then you can't hear that what you are aiming for. There's so much interference from other channels. This is what it is like to have all these sinful desires due to one's previous karma always in your consciousness. Then it becomes difficult to focus on what is truly valuable. What is the metaphor of the boar? What did Faraday do? He raised the earth from a filthy place, right? My consciousness is in a filthy place and I need your help to elevate me. I offer my respectful obeisance unto you. Text 28, 29. Therefore, one should perform his daily spiritual duties and then, with great attention, offers worship to the deity of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and also to the altar, the sun, water, fire, and the spiritual master. Supreme Personality of Godhead, greatest of all, who lives in everyone's heart, and in whom everyone lives, a witness of everything of Vasudev, supreme and all-pervading person, I offer my respectful obeisance unto you. So the Lord is a person, but unlimitedly expansive and all-pervading. Text 30. I offer my respectful obeisance unto you, the Supreme Person, who are very subtle. You are never visible to material eyes. You are the knower of 24 elements, and you are the inaugurator of the Sankhya Yoga system. So the inaugurator of the Sankhya Yoga system was Lord Kapiladev. Each of these verses we can speak about because they describe aspects of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's a short purport, 30. Chatur Vimsa Guna. The 24 elements are the 5 gross elements: earth, water, fire, air, and ether, the 3 subtle elements, mind, intelligence, and false ego, and the 10 senses, 5 working and 5 acquiring for 5 for acquiring knowledge, the 5 sense objects, and contaminated consciousness. These are the subject of Sankhya Yoga, which was inaugurated by Lord Kapiladev. The Sankhya Yoga was again propounded by another Kapila, but he was an atheist, and this system is not accepted as bona fide. So all matter comes from the Supreme Lord. Now text 31. I offer my respectful obeisance unto you, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who have 2 heads, Prayaniya and Udayaniya, and 3 legs, Savanatraya, 4 horns, the 4 Vedas, and 7 hands, the 7 chandas, such as Gayatri. I offer my obeisance unto you, whose heart and soul are the 3 Vedic rituals, Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda, and Upasana Kanda, and we expand these rituals in the form of sacrifice. So Lord Bo is the Jagya Purus, is the object of all pleasure of all Vedic sacrifices. Text 32. I offer my respectful obeisance unto you, Lord Shiva, O Rudra, who are the reservoir of all potencies, the reservoir of all knowledge, and the master of everyone. Purport. It is a system for one to offer obeisance unto the expansion or incarnation of the Lord. Lord Shiva is the incarnation of ignorance, one of the material modes of nature. Text 33. I offer my respectful obeisance unto you who are situated as Iranya Garbha, the source of life, the super soul of every living entity. Your body is a source of opulence of all mystic power. I offer my respectful obeisance unto you. So the Lord is the object of devotion of the yogis. His body contains the potencies that give yogis the mystic siddhis, the perfections they desire, but they can never become him. The goal is the Supreme Person, but it's not to become the Supreme Person. We can never become the reservoir of all mystic potencies. So I offer my respectful obeisance unto you. Your body is the source of all mystic powers. And now, text 34 and 35. I offer my respectful obeisance unto you, while the original personality of God at the witness in everyone's heart, and the incarnation of Narayana Rishi in the form of a human being, or personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisance to you. My Lord, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you, who are dressed in yellow garments, whose body you resembles the Marakata gem, and have full control over the gods of fortune. O my Lord Keshav, I offer my respectful obeisance unto you. So the Marakata gem, I think it's the sapphire, that text 36. O most exalted worshipful Lord, best of those who bestow benediction, you can fulfill the desires of everyone, and therefore those who are sober for their welfare worship the dust of your lotus feet. So what is the opposite of sober? Is being drunk, intoxicated. What is the quality of a person who is intoxicated? He does not see what reality is. He doesn't see things as they are. He doesn't see things in the proper perspective. It is seeing accurately, not intoxicated by the concept of life. So then when it's not bewildered by all these unlimited material desires. 37 till 39. All the demigods, as well as the gods of fortune, engage in the service of his lotus feet. Indeed, they respect the fragrance of those lotus feet. May the Supreme Personality of Godhead be pleased with me. Kashyapa Muni continued by chanting all these mantras, welcoming the Supreme Personality of Godhead with faith and devotion, and offering items of worship just as Padya Agra. One should worship Keshav, Rishikesh, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the beginning, the devotees should chant the Dvada Saksara mantra and offer flower garlands, incense, and so on. After worshipping the Lord in this way, one should bathe the Lord with milk and dress him with proper garments, a sacred red or ornaments. After offering water to wash the Lord's lotus feet, one should again worship the Lord with fragrant flowers. So Abharana means decorate, Bhushan means ornaments, Patya, worshipping the feet, Argha, that means offering water with spices, Gandha means fragrance, Mala means garlands. All the pujaris know these terms. So if one can afford to, one should offer the deity fine rice boiled in milk with clarified butter and molasses while chanting the same original mantra. One should offer all this to the fire. One should offer all the prasad to Vaishnava or offer him some of the prasad and take some oneself. After this, one should offer deity Achaman and then betel nut and then again worship the Lord. Thereafter, he should silently murmur the mantra 108 times and offer prayers to the Lord for his glorification. Then one should circumambulate the Lord, and finally, with great delight and satisfaction, offer obeisances, falling straight like a rod, dandavat. After touching to one's head all the flour and water offered to the deity, one should throw them into a sacred place. Then should feed at least 2 Brahmins with sweet rice. One should perfectly honor the respectful Brahmins one has fed, and then after taking their permission, one should take prasad with his friends and relatives. For that night, one should observe strict celibacy, and next morning, after bathing again with purity and attention, one should bathe the deity of Vishnu with milk and worship him according to the methods formerly stated in detail. Worshipping Lord Vishnu with great faith and devotion and living only by drinking milk, one should follow this vow. One should also offer obeisances to the fire and feed the Brahmins, as mentioned before. When it's speaking here about only taking prasadam oneself, in the previous verse, it is meant only taking milk prasad. Offering everything to Krishna and oneself is only drinking milk. Living very simple. It depends on how much devotion one has. If one has no devotion and one is very hungry, then one is offering these opulent foods. When Bhujam Prabhu said that he remembered that when the deity worship started in Los Angeles, they were cooking opulent and tasty, fragrant food, carrying it to the deities. they were not covering it when they brought it to the deities. They were carrying it during the Sunday feast to the deities. And one of the guests saw this and said, "Who is that for? With silver plates like that?" It was the first time he had been there, and the devotee replied, "So those are for the deities." And the guest replied, how long do you have to be here before you become a deity?" The material mind becomes envious and thinks, "I want it for me." One is immediately confronting the great enemy, and that is the mind and the false ego. So what this kind of worship does, it puts one directly in confrontation. That is what Bhakti does. It makes you confront the selfishness and the false ego and the idea that I should be the center and that I should be the enjoyer and not Krishna. One gets really to the point of the heart of the matter. Who should be pleased? Who is the center of existence? If one performs a pose of bhakti in a proper way under guidance, it means that we need to learn the discipline of being obedient. In following these type of procedures while not using sight of the actual essence, which is a devotion, to do what the Guru is saying with devotion, here for 12 days in a row, with devotion and faith, especially nowadays, that is not simple and it is not possible, and therefore we don't use this methodology. Even it seems so simple, it's difficult. Text 46. Worshipping Lord Vishnu with great faith and devotion and living only by drinking milk, one should follow this vow. One should also offer oblations to the fire and feed the Brahmins mentioned before. So you are only drinking milk, but you have to feed someone else, and you have to treat them respectfully and nicely and sweetly. Perfectly honor the Brahmins one has fed, and only drink milk yourself. Text 47 to 49. In this way, until 12 days have passed, one should observe this Payovrata, worshipping the Lord every day, executing the routine duties, performing sacrifices, and feeding the Brahmins. From Pratipat until the 13th day of the next bright moon, Sukla Trayodasi, one should observe complete celibacy, sleep on the floor, bathe 3 times a day, and thus execute the vow. During this period, one should not necessarily talk of material subjects or topics of sense gratification. One should be completely free from envy, and one should be pure and a simple devotee of Lord Vasudeva. It means that one's mind must be controlled. And when one is not practicing celibacy, it's not possible. Follow this process for 12 days is not easy. Text 50. Thereafter, following the directions of the Shastra, with the help from Brahmins who know the Shastra, on the 13th day of the moon, one should bathe the Lord with 5 substances: milk, yogurt, ghee, sugar, and honey. So that's Panchamrita, milk, yogurt, ghee, sugar, and honey. Yes, we are. So 51 till 54. Giving up the miserly habit of not spending money, one should arrange for the George's worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, who is situated in the heart of every living entity. With great attention, one must prepare an oblation of grains boiled in ghee and milk, and must chant the Purusa Sukta mantra. The offering of food should be of varieties of taste. In this way, one should worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One should satisfy the spiritual master, the Acharya, who is very learned in Vedic literature, and should satisfy his assistant priest, known as Hota, Utgata, Advarya, and Brahma. One should please them by offering them clothing, ornaments, and cows. This is a ceremony called Vishnu Aradhana, or worship of Lord Vishnu. So at the conclusion of the ceremony, everyone should be satisfied, not just satisfy God and give trouble to every other living entity, no, that and neglect everyone else. Everyone is going to be satisfied. And that is actually so pleasing to the heart that, and therefore, to just worship the Lord and disrespect other living entities, that's not devotion. But making the attempt to please all living entities, especially the Lord, that is devotion. 55. One should satisfy the spiritual master and assistant priest by giving them cloth, ornaments, cows, and also monetary contribution. And by distributing prasad, one should satisfy everyone assembled, including even the lowest of men, the chandalas, eaters of dog flesh. So no one is excluded. One who is attempting to please the Lord is respectful to all living entities. Because he's considering himself a servant, and because he's serving Krishna, he's serving everyone. So the purport of 55. In the Vedic system, prasad is distributed as recommended here, without discrimination as to who may take the prasad, regardless of whether one is a Brahman, a Vaishya, Sudra, Sudra, Vaishya, Kshatriya, or even the lowest of men, a Chandal. He would be welcome to accept prasad. However, when the Chandals, the lower class or poor class, are taking prasad, this does not mean that they have become Narayan or Vishnu. Narayan is situated in everyone's heart, but this does not mean Narayan is Chandal or poor man. The Mayavadi philosophy of accepting a poor man as Narayan is a most envious and atheistic movement in Vedic culture. This mentality should be completely given up. Everyone should be given the opportunity to take prasad, but this does not mean that everyone has the right to become Narayan. So Mahatma Gandhi gave the name Harijan to the poor people, people of God, and as such give them some feeling of status, as if only the poor people are the people of God. But it was a materialistic reasoning. So similarly, this Daridra Narayan or poor Narayan is also materialistic reasoning. Everyone should be given the opportunity to take prasad. And this does not mean that everyone has the right to become Narayan. 56. That one should distribute Vishnu prasad to everyone, including the poor man, the blind man, the devotee, and the non-Brahmin, knowing that Lord Vishnu is very pleased when everyone is sumptuously fed with Vishnu prasad. The performer of Jagya should then take prasad with his friends and enemies. So first please others, and then take prasad. 57. Every day from Praptipat to Trayodasi, one should continue to the ceremony to the accompaniment of dancing, singing, the beating of drum, and chanting prayers, and all auspicious mantras, and recitation of Srimad Bhagavatam. In this way, one should worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So to have the atmosphere, to make the atmosphere joyous and auspicious is very uplifting for our consciousness. And when the mantras and the Bhagavatam are chanted, it becomes auspicious and fully spiritual. 58, 59. This is the ritualistic ceremony known as Payovrata, by which one may worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I received this information from Brahma, my grandfather, and now I've described it to you in all details. O most fortunate lady, establish your mind in a good spirit, execute this process of Payovrata, and thus worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He says, O most fortunate lady. This is how he's speaking to his wife. Interesting, a most fortunate lady. So it's in a good spirit. Devotional service to the Lord should be done in a good mood, not resentfully. Otherwise, it is not devotional. Text 60 to 62. We will first read the text, then come back till the end. This Bhaktivedanta is also known as Sarvajahya. In other words, by performing this sacrifice, one can perform all other sacrifices automatically. That this is also acknowledged to be the best of all ritualistic ceremonies, O gentle lady. It is the essence of all austerities, and is the process of giving charity and pleasing the Supreme Controller. This is the best process for pleasing the transcendental Supreme Personality of Godhead, known as adoxia. It is the best of all regulative principles, the best of austerity, the best process of giving charity, and it's the best process of sacrifice. Therefore, my dear gentle lady, follow this ritualistic vow, strictly observing the regulative principles. By this process, the Supreme Person will very soon be pleased and will satisfy all your desires. So Srila Prabhupada speaks about the purpose of ISKCON in the purpose of 60. And he brings sacrifice, the sacrifice that we just have heard, to a practical platform. So I will read this entire purport because it's so significant. Aradhanam sarvisham vishnam aradhanam param. This is a statement made by Lord Shiva to Parvati. Worshipping Lord Vishnu is the Supreme Person of worship. And now Lord Vishnu is worshipped in this Bhaktivedanta ceremony as now being fully described. The ultimate goal of life is to please Lord Vishnu by Varnashram Dharma. The Vedic principles of 4 Varnas and 4 ashrams are meant for worship of Vishnu. Vishnu aradyate pumsan nanyatat tosakaranam. The Krishna consciousness movement is also Vishnu Aradhanam, or worship of Lord Vishnu. According to the age, the Bhaktivedanta method of Vishnu Aradhanam was enunciated long ago by Kashyapa Muni to his wife Deity in the heavenly planets, and at the same process, is bona fide on earth even now. Especially for this age of Kali, this process, accepted by the Krishna consciousness movement, is to open hundreds and thousands of Vishnu temples of Radha Krishna, Jagannath, Balaram, Sitaram, Gaunitai, and so worshipping the Lord is as good as performing the Bhaktivedanta ceremony recommended. Here, the Bhaktivedanta ceremony is performed from the 1st to the 13th day of the bright fortnight of the moon, but in our Krishna conscious movement, Lord Vishnu is worshipped in every temple according to the schedule of 24 hours of engagement in performing kirtan, chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, offering palatable food to the Lord Vishnu, and distributing this food to Vaishnavas and others. These are authorized activities. And if the members of the Krishna consciousness movement stick to these principles, they will achieve the same result one gains by observing the Bhaktivedanta ceremony. Thus, the essence of all the spiritual activities, such as performing jhaya, giving charity, observing vratas, and undergoing austerities, is included in the Krishna consciousness movement. The members of this movement should immediately and sincerely follow the process already recommended. Of course, sacrifice is meant to please Lord Vishnu. Shachner Sankirtana Prayer Yanti Sumedasa. In Kali Yuga, those who are intelligent perform that Sankirtan Jhaya. One should follow this process conscientiously. Srila Prabhupada says that this Bhaktivedanta is legitimate and bona fide because the same result is achieved by the Krishna conscious movement. Don't follow the wild unruly mind, but choose carefully a bona fide process and stick to it. That's the message. This includes that, yes, in this age, the Sankirtan, Shakya, will also read the purport of 61 that the Supreme Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 1866, Sarvdam Prijam Mamakam Samvacham Tvam Sarvapabhyam Kshishamatcha. But the noble varieties of religion and just surrender unto me, I shall deliver you from all sinful reaction. Do not fear. Unless one pleases the Supreme Personality of Godhead according to his demand, no good results will come from any of his actions. Dharmas Vasitatum Vipamsa Vipakshana Katasya. Occupational duties a man performs according to his own position are only so much useless labor if they do not provoke attraction for the message of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If one is not interested in satisfying Lord Vishnu Vasudev, all these so-called auspicious activities are fruitless. Moksha, moksha, karmana, mokshyana, vishetasa. Because he's bewildered, he's baffled in his hopes, baffled in his activities, and baffled in his knowledge. In this regard, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti remarks, Napumsakam ananapumsakete yadinaikatvam. One cannot equate the potent and the impotent. Among modern Mayavadis, it has become fashionable to say whatever one does, whatever path one follows is all right, but these are foolish statements. Here is the forcefully affirmed that this is the only method for success in life. Ishvaratarpanam vina sarvam eva fifalam. Unless Lord Vishnu is satisfied, all one's pious activities, ritualistic ceremonies, and jagyas are simply for show and have no value. Unfortunately, foolish people do not know the secret of success. Not even to Svaratimi Vishnu. They do not know that their real interest ends in pleasing Lord Vishnu. So we need to know the goal, which is to please Lord Vishnu with devotion, and otherwise the process will not work. Shama eva kevalam. Yatamatatupat, whatever path you follow, it will bring you to the absolute truth. It's a foolish statement by the Mayavadis. All religious activities have as their goal Bhakti. We should not do only external things. So we went through that whole process of the Bhagavata, process of worship. Any questions?
Maharaj,
Yes.
may I ask you something, Maharaj?
Please
Hare Krishna.
speak. Yes.
Maharaj, I'm just comparing the profile of Bali Maharaj and Indra Dev. And Bali Maharaj is way more exalted in terms of devotion. He chooses Vishnu all the time. And Indra is all about maintaining his position and so on. And in previous pastimes also with Vritasura and Indra, somehow it looks like the Lord favors more the neophyte people. I'm not calling them neophyte, like he is not favoring Vritasura, protecting him. He is getting killed. Bali Maharaj is sent to hell, and then Indra is ruling, and of the two, Indra and Bali Maharaj is actually more surrendered, and the Lord seems to be protecting more Indra. So I'm just trying to understand this dynamics. If you could kindly guide me, Maharaj. Thank you.
Yeah, that is a good point. There is the external and the internal side. And that is always to be considered. Of course, Krishna says 9:25, Ananya Sintyantamam Yechna Parapaste Te Samnitya Vyuktam Yorikshim Brahmyam. My devotee, I am protecting whatever he has, and I give what he needs. In the purport of this verse in Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada clearly states that this is on the spiritual side. This is meant spiritually. He gives the devotee all the opportunities for making spiritual advancement, and he protects his consciousness. So Bali Maharaj, he was completely surrendered, and by that his consciousness was free of duality. And he was always feeling bliss. That we will see that in the next chapters. He was factually feeling blissful when he was completely surrendered and bound up with the ropes. So what's the consciousness of Indra? Indra thinks about his position, that he has no interest in spiritual life. We have that in the purport, previous chapter, when he asked Brihaspati for advice. Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport, yes, he had no spiritual considerations. And then we see Aditi. Aditi, she is following the path of, so she's a bit between, we can say. The consciousness of Bali Maharaj is surrendered to the Supreme Lord. Indra is concerned with his material position. But then Aditi, she wants also to enjoy, but she wants to do it to please the Supreme Lord. And that is very interesting. That Srila Prabhupada there describes two ways to advance in devotional service. First, fulfill your material desires and then go back to Godhead. Or the direct path is giving up your material desires and go immediately to the spiritual platform. And that was the position of Bali Maharaj. But Aditi followed the other path. She wanted to fulfill her material desires and become purified and then go back to God. Different devotees. That's the different processes. But akama sarvakam moksakam udarte tivrena bhaktiyona jaita purishampram. Whether you are full of material desires, have no material desires, or desire liberation, it doesn't matter. You will become purified by following this path. So by this pastime, we can understand different types of devotees with different, but ultimately, the direct path, we'll see, is taken by Bali Maharaj. But one can say, yes, Bali Maharaj, okay, Bali Maharaj, he gets also his desires fulfilled. In the next Manvantari will become Indra. So one may say it's not going back to Godhead. But what is our definition of going back to Godhead? Back to Godhead means I'm fully surrendered to the Lord. Then you are back to Godhead. And if the Lord orders you to stay in the material world to do some service, that's all right. Like the Pandavas do it life after life, go with Krishna from one universe to another. They are also pure devotees on the spiritual platform. They only want to serve Krishna, and that's pure devotion. So in Bali Maharaj was like that. So different types of devotees are described here. And it's up to us to decide, but the Bhagavatam points to pure devotional service. Does that, is that okay? Hemagopi?
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you so much, Maharaj.
Okay. And then we get here a question of Anand Kaur Sundar Prabhu from verse 56. 56. Let's read 56. One should distribute Vishnu Prasad to everyone, including the poor man, the blind man, the non-devotee, and the non-Brahmin, knowing that the Lord is very pleased when everyone is sumptuously fed with Vishnu Prasad. The form of Jagya should then take Prasad with his friends and relatives. So it says here, it seems that there are blind or poor people, even in the heavenly planets, or Mother Aditi has come to earth every day. Both look like difficult to understand. That, yes, of course, there are sages all over the universe. They are living all over the universe. We heard about the sages, the 7 sages, that and there are poor people and blind people. Yes, that is the part of being in the material world, blind or poor people. But of course, we should not be too quick to quickly conclude that there are blind and poor people in the heavenly planets. What is Kashyapa Muni doing here? He's repeating the words of Lord Brahma. And Lord Brahma gave general instructions for everyone. So he's just repeating the words that, but yes, there's misery all over the universe. Krishna confirms in the Bhagavad Gita, Dukalayam Asasvatam, everywhere misery. That we see the demigods were fighting with the demons, and some were injured and so on. So there may be blind people, maybe poor people, that the great sages, all the sages were poor. That so it seems also in the heavenly planets. When Maharaj Parikshit was sitting down on the bank of the Ganga to fast until death, suddenly all these sages came from all over the universe, and they came from all over the universe. At the same time here, we cannot conclude that Kashyapa Muni and Aditi were in the heavenly planets, because at the heavenly planets, Bali Maharaj and the demons are there. So it's not clear where they are really are. That somewhere near to the heavenly planets, maybe. Anyway, that's what I can say on that. We have an other question here from Hema Gopi again. I thought Bali had taken over the heaven, and the demigods are loitering around without their abode. So maybe they were in the earthly planets. They were also not on the earthly planets. Pujan Prabhu spoke about that. He said it's not sure, but it should. They are in the higher spheres, not on the earth. That's what I remember. Good. Anything else? So we went to this whole Vayovrata process of worship. And tomorrow we will have to do 2 chapters. So that chapter 17, the Lord agrees to become Aditi's son. And there Aditi gets instructions from the Lord. And she will ask questions. Very interesting. And then we will hear also about Lord Vamadev, his appearance. So we'll have 2 sections tomorrow. The chapter 16, which 17, which we'll discuss tomorrow. It's quite also a long chapter. And chapter 18 is short. But we will normally be able to do that. Go to that tomorrow. Kashyapa Muni was in which ashram? He was in Klyasta. That was his ashram. But no, he followed Varnashram. You see all the instructions are there. Of course, he's a Prajapati. He's in a special position also. That he was a mystic yogi, he was in Samadhi. That it's a bit like we see that also Samika Rishi was also a mystic yogi. He was very advanced, very advanced spiritually. But of course, devotees are transcendental to Varnashram. If Mamsya Vyabhacharana Bhaktivedanta Sevati, if they perform pure devotional service. It's not easy. Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to see you online tomorrow for the next 2 chapters. Hare Krishna. Jai Prabhupada. Hare Bhagavan.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Hare Bhagavan.